Well, I sure hope you're doing well. We have some people that we know of that are sick, and we definitely want to be praying for them and thinking about them. If you're one of those people that are sick and nobody knows about it, tell somebody. We wanna be praying for you. We want you to know that we love you, and if there's anything we can do at all for you, we just ask that you would ask us. We're still in the book of Job, but we don't have long before we're done with the book of Job, and maybe for some people, that's exciting. I'm sad. I don't want to finish the book of Job. I love Job, but we have to finish at some point, and we've been in the book for a long time now. But last week, you might remember, we're jumping right in tonight. Last week, we talked about Job chapter 35. And we didn't finish Job chapter 35, but we're still hearing from the young guy Elihu, right? So we've heard from Eliphaz, we've heard from Bildad, we've heard from Zophar. In fact, the friends have 3 cycles of speeches, you might remember. But then we hear from Elihu. And what we know about Elihu is he's this young guy that obviously heard part, maybe even all, of what Job has said throughout the book, but really wanted to say some things, but thought it wasn't his place. You know, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, they're the old ones. Let those guys speak. Elihu's young. It's not his place. But Elihu, remember, he thinks he is inspired by God. His knowledge comes from God, and because of that, Elihu has a message, and it doesn't matter if he's young. He's going to say what he needs to say. So that's where we're at. Now, you might remember when Elihu first started speaking, his message offered hope a little bit to Job. It was comforting in a way. But then we moved into chapter 34, and we got to chapter 35, which we did part of last week, like we said. And Elihu, he's on another level here. I mean, he is upset with Job now. It seems like there's no hope. He's just condemning Job. Okay, Elihu is angry. Elihu is fiery. We've seen that. That characterizes Elihu. Job chapter 35. We'll start in verse 9. Because of the multitude of oppressions, people cry out. They call for help because of the arm of the mighty. But none says, "Where is God, my maker, who gives songs in the night?" Job, hold on. You've brought to our attention, okay, especially mine. I've heard you say this. I've heard you say that God just lets the oppressors walk free, okay? The people that hurt others, God just lets them go. He doesn't punish them. He doesn't, he's not just. That's essentially what Elihu's trying to get at. What he's heard Job say, God's not just. He doesn't come through, we might say. But Elihu says, Job, you know, there's all these people that the oppressors oppress, right? And God might not punish those oppressors. That's what you've said, Job. But you've also made the case that he doesn't he doesn't deliver. He doesn't help the people suffering. People that are in pain, Job. And let me tell you why God might not help some of those people. God might not help some of those people because they're just crying out because they're in pain. It's not like Job, they're crying out to God, okay? They're crying out for themselves. That's all they're concerned about. They're concerned about relieving their pain. That's what they want. They're not concerned about asking God himself for help. That's the part in verse 10. But none says, "Where is God, my maker, who gives songs in the night?" They don't offer up a prayer to God. These people, they're prideful. God gives songs in the night. Maybe it's the case here. We're to think about somebody that's in pain, and they sing songs about God in the night. And while singing songs won't get rid of their ailments, it certainly might provide some relief. They might be able to get some rest, to clear their head. Because when they sing songs about God, they remember who God is. They remember His power, His care, His loving kindness. And they realize that God takes care of His people. God is the one who teaches us more than the beasts of the earth and makes us wiser than the birds of the heavens. Verse 11, there they cry out, but He does not answer because of the pride of evil men. There it is. There it is. They're evil. Surely God does not hear an empty cry, nor does the Almighty regard it. How much less when you say that you do not see Him, that the case is before Him and you are waiting on Him. Job, it is the case that you think God can't be found. He is hidden, right? That's a theme we see throughout the book of Job. We've said that a lot. The hidden God. God's hidden. Job can't find God. He wants to find God because he wants to take God to court. That's the whole idea in the book of Job. Job, you may say that you can't see God, and that is true. But rest assured, buddy, this case that you want to take before God, it's already before Him. But guess what, Job? You aren't in a position to make God act. You can't cause God to act. And now, because His anger does not punish, and He does not take much note of transgression, Job opens his mouth in empty talk, and he multiplies words without knowledge. Remember, we've already talked about something in the previous chapters, in the speeches of Elihu. Elihu talks about God using pain as a means to discipline a person so that they don't keep walking down the wrong path. We've already talked about that. Job doesn't get it. So Job keeps running his mouth, Elihu says, and he says some things about God, and what Job doesn't realize is it's his words. His words are causing him more pain. Well, we get to chapter 36, and Elihu continued and said, bear with me a little, and I will show you, for I have yet something to say on God's behalf. Well, that's kind of comical because, let's see, we first heard from Elihu in chapter 32. He said he had something to say, and we're now in chapter 36, and Elihu is still talking. Elihu, why don't you get what you need to say out? Okay, why don't you lay it on the table and maybe shut your mouth? Kind of ironic. He accuses Job of continuing to be loquacious, but Elihu himself continues to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. But nevertheless, he tells him, Job, just listen, buddy. I need you to listen. We've already seen this. I have a message to tell you. And it's not like it's just coming from Elihu, okay? I want you to know the source of my wisdom. The source of my wisdom is God. That's where my wisdom comes from. My wisdom comes from God. And because of that, Job, you ought to listen. I will get my knowledge from afar and ascribe righteousness to my Maker. That's what Elihu is about. Elihu feels that he has to defend God. For truly my words are not false. One who is perfect in knowledge is with you. Job, you might think what I'm about to tell you is wrong, but let me tell you, because my knowledge comes from God, I have all knowledge. There's nothing you could tell me to change my mind. There's nothing you could tell me to cause me to think about something more, maybe in another light. There's nothing you can say, Job. What I'm saying you need to do. That's what Elihu's about here. Behold, God is mighty and does not despise any. He is mighty in strength of understanding. He does not keep the wicked alive, but gives the afflicted their right. This business, Job, about you saying God doesn't punish the wicked, that's not true. God does punish the wicked, and He does deliver the righteous. He does not withdraw His eyes from the righteous, but with the kings on the throne He sets them forever, and they are exalted. Job, listen to me. Do you want to know that God really does care for the righteous? Do you want to know that God delivers the righteous? Let me tell you how you can know that. The Almighty never removes His eye from them. God's always watching the righteous. He knows what they're experiencing. He knows what they're about to experience. He knows how to deliver them because He's always watching them. He sets kings on the throne. He takes these people that have been afflicted, and because they're righteous and He trusts them, He puts them in a position of authority. God exalts them. And if they are bound in chains and caught in the cords of affliction, then He declares to them their work and their transgression, that they are behaving arrogantly. Job, do you want to know that God takes care of the righteous? Let me tell you, give you another reason to think that He does. We're going back to this idea now in verse 8. We're going back to this idea that God uses pain to discipline those He loves. That's key. That's a key thought in the speech that Elihu offers. Let me show you, Job, that God cares for the righteous. He cares for the righteous enough that when they're going down the wrong path, when they finally make the wrong decision, God brings out these chains and He binds them around the person. Number one, so that person can't continue to walk down that path. But number two, to cause pain to that person so that they can wake up, they can become conscious and think about what they're doing. He takes the blinders off with pain. Caught in the cords of affliction, He declares to them their work and their transgressions, that they are behaving arrogantly. When God gets that person, when that person has been bound by the chains, God finally tells them, this is what you did. This is what you did. He opens their ears to instruction. That's what pain is about. Pain is about discipline. It's about instruction and commands that they return from iniquity. Here's what you've done, God says. Now you need to stop. If they listen and serve Him, they complete their days in prosperity. God tells these people what they've done. But He can't force them to turn around. He can't force them to get off that path. It's up to them. It's up to them to open their ears. It's up to them to receive God's instruction in an obedient way, not to be stubborn and reject it. And if they'll listen, if they'll turn around and they'll go back to God, prosperity, that's how they'll complete their days. They'll complete it in prosperity, and their lives, in their years, in pleasantness. But if they do not listen, they perish by the sword and die without knowledge. If you're going to stubbornly reject God's message, if God is going to wrap you up in with the chain, and you're not going to think about what you're doing, you're going to die a premature death. Now keep in mind, this is how Elihu views Job. God has the chains of affliction around Job, okay? Job's experiencing pain and sleepless nights. Remember, he has boils all over him. He's lost his family. He's lost his livestock. He's lost his land. Job's stubborn, Elihu thinks. And Job needs to open his ears. The godless in heart cherish anger, and they do not cry for help when he binds them. They die in youth, and their life ends among the cult prostitutes. He delivers the afflicted by their affliction and opens their ear by adversity. Well, there you go. Elihu says to us, sometimes pain is good. You know what? I'd rather experience pain in my life if that leads me back to God, if I'm wandering in error. He's also allured you out of distress into a broad place where there was no cramping. And what was set on the table was full of fatness. Job, God wants to help you. If you'll just open your ears, all right, buddy? God wants to get you back on your feet. He wants to stop afflicting you. But you are full of the judgment on the wicked. Just judgment and justice seize you. Beware lest wrath entice you into scoffing, and let not the greatness of the ransom turn you aside. Will your cry for help avail to keep you from distress, or all the force of your strength? Do not long for the night, when peoples vanish in their place. Take care. Do not turn to iniquity, for this you have chosen rather than affliction. Don't think, Job, that you're just going to keep wandering down the evil path, and when you get to the end, everything's going to be hunky-dory, okay? Let me tell you something. When you're traveling that path of wickedness, and God binds you with those chains and you're in pain, He's trying to give you a glimpse what's at the end of the path if you keep walking. It's not rest, it's not peace, it's more pain. Behold, God is exalted in His power. Who is a teacher like Him? Job, you may think that God's a tyrant. He just goes about afflicting his people that serve Him and love Him. And He goes about blessing the people that hurt His own people. But God's not a tyrant, Job. God is a teacher, and teachers love their students. And sometimes that means they need to discipline them. Sometimes they need discipline so that they can become more like their teacher. That's where we're going to stop. It won't take us long to get through chapter 36 next week. Again, I hope you've had a great week so far. I hope you're doing well. But like I said, there are many that are sick, and we are praying for you. I can't wait to see everybody Sunday. God bless.